Anson Green here, happy to be here. Can y'all see my screen fine? Just confirm. I'm working on one screen here, so sound good? All right. Let me tell you what we're doing at Tyson Foods when it comes to digital literacy. We have a new project called Digital Advancement and Resiliency at Tyson, or DART, and we are tackling the digital realm pretty extensively here because we faced some really big pressures during the pandemic, really, that brought a lot of things to light. But we also have a lot of work dynamics that we're trying to address through digital literacy. So that's what the story is today. But at first, I want to begin by telling you a little bit about what we do at Tyson and about our workforce and our people. And it's very similar to what you heard from Camille. So we have over 121,000 team members in the United States alone. We also have plants all over the world. And about 60% of those workers are immigrants and refugees from about 60 different countries. So you can see the data on the screen here, but it is not uncommon to go to one of our plants in the Midwest somewhere and find 25 or 30 different languages out in the middle of a cornfield in Kansas or in Nebraska. So we have really diverse workforces in very rural areas sometimes. And that makes for a really dynamic workplace, but it also makes for a really dynamic classroom environment. And you go into a Tyson plant and it's not unlike walking into a big ESL class. Our workers, like most ESL students, are very bifurcated in their skills. You know, we've got about 12% that have no education from their native country. They've never been to school. And on the other end of the spectrum, about 10% that have college degrees. So that's kind of who the workforce is. And now I want to tell you a little bit about kind of frame our services before we get into the digital story. So we have two major branches of programs: our Upward Academy program, which is our standard basic education program, and then a newer integrated education and training model called Upward Pathways. These are programs that are laid out very similar to what you see in your adult education and literacy programs, because we actually implement these in partnership with local adult education providers across the country. So the story looks the same as what you see in your AFLA programs because it is the same. And we've had great success. Our Upward Academy has been around and is in about 50 locations for about 6 years old now. And then Upward Pathways is a newer program. It's reaching its 1-year anniversary. So we're real excited about these. And as I mentioned, we do these in partnership with adult education. So every state we go to, we learn kind of the different flavor of how the state operates their programs, and then we implement in partnership with the local school. So it's really a great private-public partnership. The thing to bring us into the digital, one thing that I have to do as kind of the senior manager on this stuff is to align policies. So like digital literacy right now is kind of a new realm for states, and I'm seeing different ways to tackle this in different states. And unfortunately, I've even seen some states that seem very lukewarm or negative on the topic of digital literacy, which might seem astounding to you, but it is happening out there. So I kind of act as the cheerleader and the gadfly sometimes to try to get some of these things pushed through our states. These are the states we're in. And as I said, we stay pretty busy with these locations all across the country, and every year we open up a few new ones. So let's get into the story of digital and talk a little bit about that. We have really been excited about what we see happening in the field, the leadership that World Education and companies like Engine have showed to really help transform, I think, the delivery of adult education through online formats and really kind of help meet our learners at times and places and in a manner that really works for their learning. And so we started this year, you know, we've kind of spent during the pandemic, much like Camille shared, we got tussled about like everybody did, a lot of turbulence in trying to figure out how to reorient our services. We did the same thing at Tyson Foods and spent a lot of energy, but we learned a lot like we all did. And so we've kind of coalesced all that learning into our DART project. And I want to tell you about what that's all about because I'm getting super excited about it. and we are right on the cusp of starting it. So you're kind of getting breaking news in some ways. This is still very new stuff. But what we're going to be running this year is a multi-state pilot in our schools in collaboration with our schools. And the idea is to identify and really develop models that the company can take company-wide to build what I'm calling foundational digital literacy skills for our workers. So it's a workplace literacy model, but it's really focused on super, super low skilled. Because remember, our workers are at these very low levels. Many of them do not know the alphabet. Many of them don't know the Roman alphabet, numbers. And so even creating passwords, creating usernames is a monumental effort, as those of you that do this stuff every day know. But we knew we had to tackle this because that's our customer, that's our worker, and we want them to be able to participate in the digital world just like you and I do. So we've really started working on these really, really foundational skills, and we've built a curriculum to do that. And here's why we're doing it. We want to provide access to education, work, and life. First off, we're an education program, and we want them to be able to go into Burlington English or Engine or use the internet. And these are all things that we purchase at Tyson and make available to our adult ed programs at no cost. We have work applications. This came up in the chat earlier from Amanda. Workday is our HR system. Beekeeper is our kind of chat, cell phone based communication system. And we have really low usage of these things because our workers aren't accessing them because they don't have the digital skills. And so we have this situation as a company where, a large part of our workforce is not accessing their HR system. And they're not fully benefiting from everything that we have in that system. And so I find that as like a huge constraint. We're also automating, just like many companies are, a lot of our environments to find and make things safer and more efficient. And we want to be able to reskill our workers to be able to use those systems. They're not that sophisticated, but they do take comfort, mainly comfort with digital, and then some skills. But sometimes it's the comfort level that we see our workers lack. And even trying to touch a touch screen or some sort of modernized processing system. And then, of course, we just want our workers to benefit from ordering a pizza or being able to, check the weather online. And these are things that we all benefit from. And as an equity issue, we think that's really important for our workers. So this is how we're kind of weaving these different things together in our DART project. We've got teacher training rolled in there as a piece that we're developing. We're looking at different devices. What is the best way to scale this in a company as big as Tyson? Should we go cell phone based because that's what most of our workers have? Not all of them have smartphones, but many of them have cell phones. So we're looking at different ways, different devices, and then different software and learning systems. And we know there's no one size fits all, but we want to know kind of what works best. And we have had such great success with our schools, some of them on this call, with implementing our IET models this year through this kind of experimental design method. And we're doing the same thing here for digital. So we're kind of putting this out on the street. We're putting some money out for the schools to bid on, and we want to kind of foster learning environments so we can kind of test different systems and different platforms and some curriculum. And I want to tell you about this curriculum. We call it AOK for Access, and it is designed for a non-English, limited English learner. And it's a digital literacy, foundational digital literacy curriculum. And like I said, when I mean non-English, I mean the Burmese or the Karen or the Laotian worker, of which we have thousands that don't know the Roman alphabet. And we start at that very, very basic level. And the goal is to get them to log in and build a password and be able to log in, because we have a lot of resources on our Tyson site that are in up to 10 languages. So we have accessible content as well as online learning content like Engine, but they can't get to it because they can't log into a computer. So this is kind of an outline of the curriculum as it is today. Notice it's got these really, really foundational basics. Learn it on learn the alphabet, now learn it on a keyboard. Learn numbers, now learn them on the keyboard. And so it's really methodical in that, and then it gets them through navigating into the internet. Um, as a digital literacy curriculum, it doesn't even start with the computer till lesson 7. So a lot of the handouts are just learning what I call the geography of the keyboard. The keyboard's overwhelming. If you don't know the English alphabet, it's overwhelming when you do learn it. I remember the first time I started learning to type, because I learned late in life, and I was like, man, I can't figure this thing out. Well, imagine if the Roman alphabet's not your alphabet and you're trying to tackle this. So we break the keyboard down into different areas, the numbers, then the symbols, and we have multiple handouts. And students do things like, color in the letters that would form, whatever password you're making, or which keys do you shift to make a $sign? Well, it's the shift key and the number 4. So they get some tactile learning through handouts first before they even touch a tablet computer. We teach them about security. This is a sample lesson, and we're building custom content with Engine. And that's one thing I love about Engine. They will build you custom content if you like. And so we've been working with them on some custom content. These are some screenshots of a security video that we're making on online security. So the thing that also we've been doing that I advise everyone to find ways that you can do, and I think any program can do this, is we use a lot of native language support. Communicating anything in the native language is going to accelerate the learning. And so we're a big company. We can afford to have a good bench of strength on interpreters. But I would advise you, as local programs, you've got bilingual staff, you've got students that can be student mentors in other languages to help accelerate some of this learning on some pretty complicated stuff. I mean, learning how to make a password is a very complicated thing. And very kind of obscure and culturally very aligned to something we're used to, but could be very alien to many, many other cultures because it's just such an arcane process. So why would we try to explain this in English when we could do it in Vietnamese or in their native language? So I want to tell you how we do that. These are our top 10 languages at Tyson. And we have interpreters on our team in all these languages, and they help us tremendously in a variety of ways. They're great folks, and we bring them in to do not only language interpretation, but also translation of certain documents. So who's ever seen an IET model like this? This is our IET promotional model in Burmese. And we create things like this to transmit information in other languages. And then we do the same when it comes to our online supports. And so we have communications in different languages via chat for our students when they're in class or online. And we've even created videos. This is one on how to create a password in, I believe it's Karen, on an iPhone and an Android phone. And so really useful ways to get this complicated information transferred over. Here's a video on how to change your login or your username on a PC. And it's a video that this was cheaply made. Anybody on this call could make this afternoon. We just got a cell phone and a Spanish speaker and recorded these videos. They're like 1 and 2 minutes long on different functions on logging into a tablet, finding the Wi-Fi and things like that. So there's some low cost things. Some of these things, take a production lab like this one does, but some of this you guys could do. And I really want to stress this native language support because this really has shown to accelerate transfer of learning for us on these topics. Another example here of one of our videos on special characters. You can imagine how difficult it is to teach these, and some of you all do this in your daily work. So we've used the videos with great success in tying that together.